Good morning. You're starting, right?
Good morning, and welcome to this Candidates Forum featuring candidates for Sacramento City Council District 7. I'm Tricia Erhammer, a member of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and moderator of today's forum. This forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission. The forum is being viewed live by an audience in the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors chambers and by a live audience at home through the television. It is also being taped for rebroadcast times for Metro Cable Channel 14. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization of men and women established to promote political responsibility through informed and active participation in government at all levels. The League does not support, oppose, or evaluate political candidates or parties. Although our nonpartisanship policy does not permit endorsement of political parties or candidates, after careful study, we do take positions on political issues. The format of today's forum will be as follows. Each candidate will make a 1-minute opening statement. Next, the candidates will answer questions offered by our expert media panel. The questions were submitted by the panelists and reviewed by the League members. The candidates have not had any knowledge of these questions. The candidates will have 1 minute each to answer each question, and finally, candidates will be able to close with a 1-minute closing. In the interest of time and decorum, I ask that the audience here in the Sacramento chambers hold all applause until the end of this forum. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce the candidates who are running for City Council District 7 in Sacramento. To my right, Julius Cherry.
Good morning.
To my left, Rick Jennings. And the third candidate joining us shortly will be Abe Snowbar. Thank you for joining us this morning. I would also like to introduce our media panel. Heather Skinkle from the League of Women Voters, Sacramento County, and Nick Miller from the Sacramento News and Review. Thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule and joining us today. And now it is time for opening statements. Candidates have drawn straws to decide the order of opening statements. So to my right, Julius Cherry.
Thank you, and good morning, and thank you for putting on the forum. Council members do many things, but there are 3 major things that they do. 1, they deal with the city's finances, the financial stability of the city. 2, they make land use decisions. And 3, they deal with neighborhoods. When the voter reviews my resume, he will find out that I have experience in all 3 areas. I ran the city fire department, the 2nd largest department in the city, with a $100 million budget, almost a third of the city's $380 million general fund budget, managing 600 employees. I sat right here at this very dais for 7 years as a member of the Sacramento County Planning Commission and made major land use decisions. Indeed, I chaired that commission for some time. Lastly, I've worked in every fire station in this community, which means I've worked in every neighborhood in the district as is currently configured. And that's why I believe I'm the best qualified candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick Jennings.
Thank you, Tricia, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to be here today and for putting on this forum. And I want to start by just saying Happy Mother's Day, since we won't have that opportunity in the future. I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, and hope you enjoy your day. So the reason I'm running for the Sacramento City Council District 7 is for 12 years I served on the Sacramento City School Board as an elected official. and had the opportunity to serve our kids and serve our families and really help to change the face of public education in Sacramento. It was something that I enjoyed doing and something that I really felt like we made a significant difference. And then for the last 22 years, I have a proven track record as a community change agent, making a difference directly in the community, working with our families that need the most assistance and most help. I'm running because I love Sacramento with all my heart and soul. I've spent more time here than any other place in my life. And I want to make a difference and continue to make a difference, and I want your support.
Thank you. Now we move to the question and answer portion of this forum. Heather, will you please ask the first question first of Julius?
Hello.
Good morning.
My question is just, why are you running?
I'm running for this office out of a sense of personal obligation. Sacramento community has been very good to me and allowed me to be very good to my family. I've had a 30-year career in public service after having served 4 years in the United States Air Force. I've answered the call to service my entire life, and I'm answering the call to service now. Our current council member, Darrell Fong, is running for the State Assembly. The seat has become open in my neighborhood. I want to represent my neighbors, not the powerful, but my neighbors, the constituents, the voters, and that's why I'm running. And I want to be an independent voice on the City Council because I think more independent voices are needed on the City Council. I also am running because I believe I'm the best qualified candidate prepared to do this job.
Thank you. Rick Jennings.
Well, I want to say, for many people ask me that same question, and I kind of feel like in some cases, maybe I am crazy for running. My son and his daughter just had a 1-year-old. They just told us last night the great news that they're expecting again, and so I want to spend more time as a grandfather, but my commitment to Sacramento says I can't do that. I've got to continue to serve. I've got to continue to make a difference. We have to restore the trust back in government for people. We have to identify the problems in government and we have to fix them. We have to represent and serve the people, and we need to hold our elected officials accountable and make sure that they're doing the things that are moving our city forward and our district forward. So I'm running because I'm going to continue the track record of service that I've had for the last 36 years of serving Sacramento and doing everything that's necessary to keep a job, but also at the same time serve the city that I love with all my heart and soul.
Thank you. Nick, we'll move to the next question. Will you please direct it first to Rick?
Sure. Julius, Rick, good to see both of you again. I want to talk about what's happening in District 7, what matters to Greenhaven, Pocket, Valley High residents. And I think every resident has probably told you that they're driving around in their cars, they see empty storefronts, they see blight. What can you do as a council member to have that same conversation we're having about the urban core and revitalizing the urban core and bringing small business back? How can we do that in District 7? How can we get rid of that blight and get rid of those storefronts and start seeing new businesses opening up?
First Rick
Thank you.
addresses the question.
Pardon me, sorry.
So as far as what's going on in District 7, we have two distinct areas, one that is doing a little bit better than the other, but we need to really pay close attention to both areas. And then we're going to have a third area called Delta Shores that'll be developed, and that's an 800-acre infill project that'll take place in our district. So we've got to make sure that Valley High does not lose its luster, Valley High, that we continue to invest in Valley High. I use the example all the time that there are 1,100 kids that are playing soccer in Greenhaven Pocket, and yet there are 259 that are playing in Valley High. I use the example that there is a baseball league in Greenhaven Pocket, and yet there is not a baseball league in Valley High. So there is an inequity of services in our two areas, and we have to invest in that area where there is an inequity. Business, as far as parks and schools, 4 schools in Valley High are in program improvement while none are in Greenhaven Pocket. So we have to reinvest in the infrastructure of District 7, regain the trust back of the people who we represent.
Thank you. Julius?
Yes. Nick, I think the answer to your question comes down to 3 things: jobs, jobs, and more jobs. We have to grow the employment and tax base in the city of Sacramento, all over the city. And we certainly have to do that in the Greenhaven Pocket, Valley High area. Now, Sacramento does a number of things well, and we need to enhance those things. Agriculture, medical care. Those are the kinds of job, higher education. Those are the kinds of things that we do well that we need to expand upon. One of the things that we have 2 hospitals in the Valley High area, Kaiser and Mercy Hospital, Methodist Hospital, I'm sorry. One of the things that bolstered us during the downturn, I should say bolstered us, kind of put a floor under us because we know the downturn was horrible, was medical jobs. And those jobs are not going to be all doctors and nurses. They're going to be technicians and those kinds of jobs, even people cleaning hospitals, which happen to be pretty well-paying jobs. So jobs, jobs, jobs is what we want to do.
Thank you. Heather, will you please direct the next question first to Julius?
Okay. Julius, can you explain the strengths and weaknesses of the arena deal?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm happy to do that. There's a very good article in the Sacramento Bee this morning. The headline is Arena Deal Done. It's going to be voted on, according to the Bee, May 20th. The thing that the citizens need to pay attention, that article is front page above the fold and then goes a half a page on the second. The one line buried throughout the sentence, or throughout the article, is that if all the assumptions being made by the New York bankers, Goldman Sachs and the like, don't pan out, the city general fund is on the hook. That is the weakness of this financing plan, and it's the reason why I've spoken out. Obviously, the strengths of it is it's downtown. It'll help develop downtown. It'll help bring in more infrastructure and development in and around the downtown area. Those are the strengths, but the weaknesses may outweigh the strengths depending on what the final financing deal turns out to be.
Thank you. Rick?
So I want to kind of go back to the jobs that Mr. Cherry was speaking to, and I think the arena gives an opportunity for many of the residents that I work with on a day-to-day basis to give them the jobs that they need, whether it be temporary jobs or whether it be permanent jobs. Many who don't have work at all are looking for any kind of job at all, and so I think it's going to be an incredible product that's going to bring 6,500 jobs on a temporary basis and over 4,000 jobs on a permanent basis. It is a great catalyst for downtown and the redevelopment of our downtown urban core. Conventions, major events, the Kings, they'll only play 41 games there a year. So we're going to be able to use it for a lot of other things that are going to be able to bring people downtown as well as bring economic growth to our area. And the ancillary growth and development that's going to come as a result of the arena is second to none. It's going to put us on the map. I, too, am going to study the financing and making sure it doesn't have a negative impact on our budget, but I am convinced that this is the catalyst project that we will see in our lifetime right here in Sacramento.
Thank you. Nick, will you please ask the next question first of Rick?
Sure. Light rail, mass transit, it's expanding through your district over the coming years. It'll be going to Delta Shores, the new community, then through Valley High, all the way to Cosumnes River College. What are the opportunities having a mass transit corridor like that going through your district? What are some of the pitfalls or things that we need to keep an eye on?
It's a great question, and in my walking, I get a chance to talk to residents every single day about the benefits of the mass transit and the light rail going through the district and how it's going to help them. But at the same time, that light rail does not go through enough neighborhoods where residents have to travel to get services that they need. And so we've got to develop a partnership with RT where they increase the number of stops in the Valley High area specifically, where we can help our residents be able to access services and utilize those shopping centers that have high vacancy rates. We've got to be able to make sure that RT is a partner in working with us to give our residents the transportation that they need. Light rail will be a great asset, but it's not going to be enough. We're going to have to go above and beyond in order to meet the needs of a community who wants the services, who want to shop in their community, who want to be able to obtain services in their community, but they're limited right now by the fact that they don't have reliable transportation to be able to do that.
Thank you. Julius?
Yes, thank you for the question, Nick. It's interesting to me that as light rail has developed over the years, we first started in places like Folsom and those kinds of places to get the extension, as opposed to areas like the south part of Sacramento. I am glad to see light rail coming through. One of the things that I used to have to make decisions on is transit-oriented development. commonly referred to as TODs. So transit-oriented development means that you include a combination of your mass transit along with development projects. We have an opportunity, particularly as Delta Shores build out, to have transit-oriented development. One of the things we can do with light rail is to keep cars off the street. We know that I-5 and Highway 99 going south during the commute time is completely congested. And so the fact that we have light rail going out to those areas, all the way to Cosumnes River College, is a very important element in developing transit-oriented development in the south part of Sacramento. I'd like to see it expand. I'd like to see it work very well with the new Delta Shores. We have some great opportunities there to paint on a clean canvas.
Thank you. Heather, will you please address the next question first to Julius?
Julius, there's talk of expanding the bike trail through the Greenhaven Pocket. Have you talked with the neighborhood, and what are they saying?
Thank you for the question. Yes, this is one of the hot button issues in this race. We have both met with neighbors. We have walked out on the bike trail, gone in people's backyards, looked at the issues. There are 110 neighbors there who sort of poised to be against it because for all this time, they've had the trail, or not a trail, but they've had, the freedom of having their property go to the water line. The city's going to have to come in and pay those people just compensation for that. Let me first say that opening up the Sacramento bicycle pathway to everyone is a great idea. It's going to happen, I think. It's a question of how it's going to happen. We have to respect the neighbors there. They need to receive just compensation. Their security and privacy needs to be taken into consideration in a very important and robust way. And we have been talking to the neighbors about how to do that. There are so many moving pieces because there are so many agencies, state, federal, and local involved in this. And we've got to sit down with the neighbors and help them understand what they can expect.
Thank you. Rick?
Thank you. We have had an opportunity to talk to the neighbors and really sit down with them and understand their concerns and their fears and what's going to happen in their property. And I've probably talked to over 25 residents that are living on that property. Some that live directly there, some that don't live there. I too believe that access to the river is primary for everyone to have, that everyone should have accessible access to the river and be able to enjoy the beauty of the river. And I want that to happen. But I also want to make sure that as we go through that process, that to those 110 homeowners, that we give them a fair market value for their property, that we also make sure that we focus on their privacy and their safety, and that we can ensure that we have the resources that are necessary to monitor that levee and do everything we can to ensure their safety. I want to make sure as we go through this whole process that we look at the safety of the levee first. We're talking about the bike trail, but we have to talk about the 200-year levee and making sure that we get to that point right now.
Thank you. We have time for a couple more questions. Mm-hmm. Nick, will you please address the next one first to Rick?
Sure. There was a much publicized series of gang violence. We read about it in the Bee, we saw it on TV, between a gang in South Sacramento and a gang that had allegiances to Mack Road. Can you sort of explain to me what the conflict is here, and then how, as a council member, you would sort of explore solutions?
I can do that. I work in the nonprofit field every single day. I work for the Center for Fathers and Families. I've done that for the last 22 years of working in this field and trying to mitigate the gang violence issue that we have in Sacramento. I'm sorry to see that the mayor's gang task force could not be funded in order for us to continue the work that needs to be done in this city to deal with the gangs that are going on right now. We have some programs that are working and very successfully working. The Cops and Clergy program that's currently in place right now. It is unfortunate that the number of people who got shot and got hurt in those whole things, but we have to be proactive in making sure that we get in front of this problem, working with our police force in order to mitigate the gang violence issue in Sacramento.
Thank you. Julius?
Nick, the first thing I do is bring attention to the problem. If the mayor has a gang violence task force, I'd like to know where it is and why it can't be funded. We can borrow over $300 million to build an arena and we can't fund gang task force? I don't understand that. I'm appalled by the lack of attention brought to this issue by our local politicians. I've heard very little about it. I've spoken out about it myself. I would come together with the community. This is an issue for us. If we can't keep our young people safe, I don't know what we're going to do in this city. I had a young man ask a question at a community forum that we did a couple weeks ago. He said, what are you going to do for us? My opponents focused on things like jobs, which are important, and I focused on trying to keep you safe. I need to keep you alive, otherwise you're not going to ever have an opportunity to have a job. And so I would have held a press conference, gotten together with neighbors, with community-based organizations, one like the one Mr. Jennings runs, and try to bring people together to figure out what we can do, because this problem is pervasive and it extends across all city council districts, not just District 7.
Thank you. And joining us at this time, Abe Snowbar. Thank you for joining us. It's quite all right. And Heather, if you will please address the question first to Julius.
Okay. Of course. Julius, what should the city's #1 budget priority be?
Without question, public safety. I spent 30 years of my life, a generation, with the fire department. Public safety is what I have done all my life. I worked with the police chief. When I was chief, I worked with Chief Nahara, who's now our United States Marshal, on things like homeland security issues, on things like emergency planning, like flood protection, and those kinds of things. We talked, my opponent talked about the levee, and I think what he meant is the 200-year flood protection that we need. These issues have seemed to be forgotten in Sacramento. What I want us to do is to go back to basics. We can build an arena, that's fine, but we need to make sure that if you call 911 because a kid got hit by a car, a fire truck will show up soon enough to make a difference in that incident. If you call 911 because you hear glass breaking in your garage and somebody's breaking in your house, there are enough police officers on the street to take care of that. Those are the kinds of things I spent my time worrying about, and those are the kinds of things I'll do when I'm elected to the City Council.
Thank you. Rick?
I, too, support the public safety as the #1 priority. Without public safety, you really can't have economic development. No one's going to come shopping where they don't feel safe, and so public safety is #1. But we can't invest all of our money in police and fire. We've got to take our money and invest it into other resources. Resources like our churches, our local businesses, our nonprofit organizations, our schools, our community partners, our neighborhood associations. They all have to be a part of the solution to deal with public safety. We've got a great resource in Sacramento called Next Door Sacramento, Next Door Pocket, Next Door Greenhaven, Next Door Valley High. 16,000 people have gotten involved in that to be a part of the solution of dealing with public safety here in Sacramento. I'm proud to say 1,000 of them are right in Pocket, Sacramento, and we want to get that number up in order to be able to deal with that. There's some great best practices out there that we can emulate, but right now I think we all have to be a part of the solution, not just investing in police and fire.
Thank you. Abe?
Could you repeat the question again, please?
Sure. What should the city's #1 budget priority be?
Sure. Let's look at a few funding resources that we already have at hand, Measure U being one of them. We can take care of our services, so fire, police, Parks and Rec. So that money is going to be with us for the next 5 years. And if we use it wisely, we can at least bring ourselves back into a situation where those services are back prior to the crash, I suppose, of '07. There's $70 million sitting out there right now that the Kings owners owe us. We need to get that back. So that's monies that we can utilize within Sacramento. The other thing we need to do is make it so that people want to come and bring their businesses into District 7. And the way we do that is to lower the fees, cut some of the red tape, and make it to where when you want to spend your money in building a business, you bring it back to District 7. So the city's budget has, when we sign off on it, has a lot to do with monies that are out there that we need to take advantage of, and so that we can bring those services back.
Thank you. And we have time for one last question.
Great.
Would you please direct it first to Abe?
Sure. Delta Shores, it's going to be a huge new community and a huge new asset for your district.
Yes.
It's going to elevate the game for everybody. How do you make sure that when the development of Delta Shores becomes a reality, Valley High, Pocket, and Greenhaven also rise with that tide?
See, the mistake that we made over the last, let's say, 12, 16 years is that we did not divvy up the monies from District 7 evenly amongst the district parts, including Valley High. So what we need to do is make sure that that gets taken care of as well, so that when the new toy comes in, everybody's going to want to go look at the shiny toy and move into that area. The forgotten parts that are already forgotten don't continue to stay forgotten. The connector between the Valley High area and Greenhaven Pocket, which is now basically a dirt road that has the light rail running through it, we need to make that also a resource. So I say put a community center there, something that has fields and pools and things that the children can utilize, so that and perception-wise, if I lived in Valley High or Greenhaven Pocket or at the Delta Shores area, it looks like there's a place for all of us to go to. So we have to connect the district and make it into one unified unit so that everybody feels the same.
Thank you. Julius?
The good news is that the Delta Shores project looks like it's going to go forward. It's been on the books for a long, long time, and we've been waiting for it for a long time. The other piece of good news is that we've learned some things about development. As I mentioned earlier, I sat right here at this dais for 7 years making land use decisions. We have learned some things with how North Natomas has developed. We added almost an entire new city to the city of Sacramento. We've learned things about how traffic mitigation problems need to be taken care of. We've learned things like how we bring in businesses that create jobs that produce more resources than they actually take in or drain from the city coffers. We have learned a lot of things about how development, and so what's going to happen is we have an opportunity here, whoever's the council member representing that area, we have an opportunity to weave in Delta Shores with Valley High and to actually lift the boats of Valley High and to weave it in with the Greenhaven Pocket area. It's an exciting project. I am very excited to hopefully be involved in it if I'm fortunate enough to be elected. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick?
So I do think this is a great opportunity, and I thank you for asking that question. I think Delta Shores is a tremendous opportunity, and we're going to focus on that. But at the same time, we have to make sure, as my competitors or my fellow candidates have said, that we bring everyone together. We have neighborhood associations right now that are currently active and engaged, but they stay in their own separate communities and they never come together. We need to bring all of them together to be a part of the solution. We need to work together to make sure that Delta Shores has all of the resources and things that the other cities, the other communities don't have, and make sure that that happens so it does become a destination spot for both communities to come together. We want to make sure that Valley High is not forgotten in this whole equation. I've given you significant statistics about what has happened in Valley High. We've got to raise up the level of Valley High while we're building Delta Shores and doing everything we can to make Delta Shores something that we can all be proud of, Valley High we can be proud of, and as well as Pocket Greenhaven.
Thank you. Now we move to closing statements. Each candidate has 1 minute to offer a closing statement. First, Julius Cherry.
Again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on this forum today. In addition to being fire chief, I've been a practicing attorney for 22 years. When I'm elected to the city council, my client will always be the constituent, will always be the voter. I have the passion to represent them, I have the courage to represent them, and more importantly, I have the best set of skills to represent them. I can't wait to have the opportunity to do that. I will represent the voter, the taxpayer, not the powerful, but the voter and the taxpayer. So if you give me the opportunity to represent you, I think you will be very proud of the type of representation I'll bring to District 7. I ask for your vote sincerely and honestly. I've worked hard all my life. I love Sacramento. I've been here for 42 years, since I was an 18-year-old kid in the United States Air Force, and I would love to be your city council member. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you. Rick Jennings.
I've already gone over my record of service, so I won't go over that again. I think you know my work, whether it be in corporate America, nonprofit field, serving on the school board, so I won't go through all that. What you can count on for me as the next council member is that we're going to balance the budget and pay down our unfunded liabilities. We're going to protect our public and make sure that they are safe and feel secure. That will allow us to bring in business that will ultimately create jobs. We're going to make our schools and libraries the center of neighborhood activity. We don't have community centers right now, so we've got to utilize the resources that we have in order to be able to be that community center that we don't have. We've got to bring business back to the district. There, in some cases, there's a 45% vacancy rate in our businesses, so people are not shopping in our district and not bringing revenue into the city, so we've got to bring them back. We've got 23 schools and 23 parks and 12 schools, and we need to reinvest in that infrastructure in our district. And we got to bring government back to the residents, making sure that they trust government and know that we are there for their best interests.
Thank you. And the last word, Abe Snowbar.
Thank you. First and foremost, being a school teacher for 16 years in the trenches with the people of District 7, it gives me a perspective that's a little bit different than my fellow candidates. It is a process of understanding the limitations that the families do have in the Valley High area, and partly the families that have it in the Greenhaven Pocket area. The thing that we need to understand is we're running for District 7 City Council. Let's focus on the things that District 7 needs as a part of Sacramento. But if we don't take care of the small things within District 7, the big things within Sacramento won't have a chance to get taken care of. We need to bring businesses back, like I spoke about, cut the red tape, lower the fees, make somebody who has money in their hand want to come into District 7 to open a business. Let's bring in some music, some culture, some food. Make this District 7 a destination for people to want to come into it and bring not only their businesses that may stay there for a while, but just their people and their families. And frankly, I need to say this with all due respect to my candidates. If we're tired of just running this election, then how are we going to deal with 7 other council members and 65,000 people? Put somebody in office like myself who has the energy to do it.
Thank you. And that concludes the candidates portion of this forum. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission, I thank the candidates and our panelists for participating in today's forum. I would also like to thank all the many volunteers who have made this forum possible today. We congratulate the candidates for running for office,
Thank you.
for caring about Sacramento, and we hope that this forum helps you, the voter, in making an informed decision. But it only does any good if you come out and vote on June 3rd and help make this democracy work. Thank you so much.